So the woke left idiots are in full panic mode, and it's Elon Musk who just lit the fuse with the move nobody on the left saw coming. So Hollywood is absolutely losing it because Elon Musk and the president walked straight past every line the establishment swore they would never cross. So this is the most insane political meltdown of the year, and Elon Musk is sitting right at the center of it. And Elon Musk is definitely grinning the whole way through. And every single attack of the woke left that's producing aimed at Elon Musk has backfired and destroyed their own messaging against Elon Musk in the process. So they went hunting for a villain who they think is Elon Musk, and now Elon Musk and the president are standing back to back while the entire woke machine in Hollywood falls flat at them. Okay, so the president went to the Faith and Freedom Coalition conference in Washington this week and named the threat directly to the room. He called the new wave of the socialist primary winners hardcore, godless communists, and warned that under their policies, America's greatest cities would turn into slums while everyone with options pack up and leave. Now, that came right after New York's rent guidelines board pushed through a citywide rent freeze on nearly 1 million stabilized apartments, which is exactly the kind of central planning that quietly hollows out a housing market, where he even framed it as the most serious threat to the country that's in its 250 years. So the left howled that the language was over the top, but the voters watching their own neighborhoods change are the ones who get to decide whatever is exaggerating. Okay, so over the past few weeks, different candidates aligned with Democrat socialists and stuff of America have been racking up primary wins, with Zohran Mamdani's movement in New York leading the charge and dragging a whole slate of allies, along with it. Okay, so the president right now, he's laughing at the entire wing under the communist banner, and the woke left idiots are furious about the word choice. So the substance underneath it, rent freezes, the wealth taxes, the government equity stakes in private companies is what voters actually have to weigh. Now, when a party spends the week arguing about whether communist is rude instead of defending the policies themselves, that tells you which ground they would rather fight on. And while the president is working the rhetorical front, Elon was quietly opening up a second front. For 2 solid years, the talking point on cable news was that his political influence has collapsed, that he, embarrassed himself, apparently, that nobody serious would touch his money again. Now, that narrative aged like milk, basically, where he walked right back into the arena at the worst possible time for his enemies. And he did it basically with a checkbook the size of a small country's budget. Okay, so early this year, Elon swore that he was stepping back from the political spending after a brutal stretch of in the headlines that promised lasted about as long as you would expect, where he's now the third largest donor of the entire 2026 midterm cycle, with roughly $85 million committed, sitting right behind the Anderson Horowitz Network and George Soros, where he cut $5 million checks to MAGA Inc., the Senate Leadership Fund, and the Congressional Leadership Fund, and then kept the spigot running into the new year with money for races in Kentucky and beyond. So for a party that spent 2 years, insisting he was finished, basically, that's a brutal dose of reality. So Elon recently become the world's first trillionaire, as you all know, which makes him the single biggest target a populist left movement could ever ask for. Then he poured gasoline on the whole thing, replying to the Daily Wire on X, where he wrote, "Anyone who hates America and stuff should just go ahead and leave." All right, and that's big right there. That's huge and stuff. Where the quote, it just tweets detonated with minutes and stuff to his supporters. It read as plain as common sense, and to his critics, it sounded like a menace. And that gap right there is the entire culture war, basically compressed into one sentence. So Gavin Newsom also chose to go ahead and just picked the exact moment to roll out his big cinematic economic vision right here. So here's a video clip that's going around and stuff. And it's not the only clip that's going around. This one that he made an announcement on his own X page.
I think Trump is one of the most destructive presidents and human beings in my lifetime. I think this republic is at real risk, this country being unrecognizable. And I have no patience for people that want to indulge it. I can't stand the crony capitalism. I can't stand all these supplicants that are sitting there bending the knee to this president. I can't stand the universities that have done that, the law firms that have done that, the individual corporate leaders that have.
Oh, wow. But here's the announcement that he actually came across on X and everything.
Billionaires tax and a new social contract. It's time for a national billionaires tax and a new social contract. Think about this, just 10% of people in this country own 2/3 of the wealth. A 30-year-old, for the first time in American history, is not doing better than his or her parents. That's a 5-alarm fire.
Okay, so this is interesting. He basically picked this exact moment to roll out his big economic vision, where he unveiled the national billionaires tax, calling for what he branded an economic reset and a modern Buffett rule that would force anyone worth over $100 million to pay a minimum rate. He paired it with a national public equity fund that would hand the federal government a managed stake in the artificial intelligence industry on behalf of every American. So in other words, he wants the government to control everything. The detail he would rather you skip right over is that Newsom is at the very same time opposing the actual wealth tax that Californians will vote on this November in his own state, where he wants a national glory of taxing billionaires without the home state, baggage, just simply being the first one to actually do it. So Elon Musk stepped in and turned Gavin Newsom's entire rollout into a punchline, just basically keeping it about Newsom. And Newsom kept talking about true minimum tax on billionaires, and Elon Musk simply just reminded him that basically, simply ratioed him to the date with a couple of taps on his phone. Within hours, Elon Musk had one reply, basically just shutting everything down right here. Okay, simply ratioed him into the date with a couple of taps on his phone, and Elon Musk had the one reply outrunning the governor's entire announcement. When Elon Musk decides your text pitch is going to be his entertainment for the afternoon, you are no longer the one steering the conversation. Newsom got a live on camera lesson from Elon Musk and exactly how fast the narrative can flip on you. Heck, even Ro Khanna and stuff. I mean, he running the same play days later, and it went about as smoothly. Sitting down with the I've Had It podcast with host Jennifer Welch, the California congressman claimed that the one-time 5% tax on Elon Musk and stuff could fund universal child care at $10 a day for every family in America, plus a free public college, a whole wish list. Here it is right now.
Jennifer, for 5% tax one time on Elon Musk, you could have universal child care in America, $10 a day for every family. That's one person, one time, 5%, and he wouldn't even miss it because the market would grow by 15% and his wealth would still grow. And yet they're opposed to something as basic as that. But think about this, Jennifer, for 5% tax.
Sorry about that repeat, but basically he's been pushing a version of this alongside Bernie Sanders for a while now. Now, the trouble is that even sympathetic observers noticed that the number was carrying an enormous amount of weight, and billionaire David Friedberg fired back by challenging Khanna to personally fork over, 5% of his own roughly $200 million net worth before lecturing anyone else. And Elon Musk answered it basically with a huge response and stuff with just 3 words, where he's such an evil liar. It's blunt, but Elon Musk landed it on a real nerve because Khanna happens to be one of the most active stock traders in all of Congress and just picked up a multi-million-dollar home in the DC area. So there's something almost comic about a $200 million lawmaker traveling the country to lecture Elon Musk, who has too much. apparently. So voters tend to notice when the crusaders demanding sacrifice never volunteer to go first while speaking out against those like Elon Musk. And that is the trap Elon Musk walked kind of straight into. So that single contrast is doing more work for the right thing. Any talking point Elon Musk could have scripted himself. And then Elon Musk keeps dragging deeper argument out in the open. So back in June, in early 2025 on Joe Rogan, he's described what he called a fundamental weakness in Western civilization, basically. Okay. And which is empathy. Okay. Empathy. All right. Now, empathy basically is good if it's done in the right context and stuff, but the empathy exploit, he talks about the fundamental weakness of Western civilization is empathy, the empathy exploit. He has been clear that he believes in caring about other people. His warning is about what happens when that instinct gets manipulated, when decent, well-meaning people are guilted into policies that end up punishing the very communities they meant to protect. So agree with him or not, that single frame has shaped half the political debates of the past year. As a matter of fact, this has been happening in the past decade and stuff ever since 2012, where we're told to show a lot of empathy, but at the same time, it's only the rules for thee and not for me, from those who actually screams it out loud to show empathy. But Iryana Zaruska, as you all remember, was a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee and stuff who fled the war and was quietly rebuilding her life in Charlotte when she was stabbed to death by a man on a light rail train in August 2025. And the man was charged. Carlos Brown Jr. had been arrested 14 times before that day and carried a long history of serious mental illness, and the system kept cycling him right back onto the street. So he's been deemed incompetent since to stand trial. And her case was the only empathy argument that keeps circling back to a flood of shallow comparisons aimed at repeat offenders and almost none reversed for the innocent person nobody even bothered to protect. So John C. Riley here also had blasted, Elon Musk, went on Ilana Glazer's podcast and swung back at the empathy argument from Elon Musk, declaring that empathy is not a trap. Empathy is a superpower, and that compassion makes human beings exceptional. Okay, so here's the clip in question right here, because this is wild and stuff, and it's been online for a while
if you
now.
Stand up for human rights. Why is that a right or a left thing? Why aren't people on the right wing concerned about human rights? They're human too. This whole thing that kind of has come into vogue of empathy trap. It's an empathy trap. That's what Elon Musk says. Empathy is don't be fooled by the empathy trap.
Yes.
Stick to your agenda and what's best for you.
Holy fuck.
Don't start feeling bad for so and so. They're on their own thing. Look out for number one. It's wait a minute. Empathy is not a trap. Empathy is a superpower.
That's right.
That's what makes human beings exceptional. Our ability to look outside of ourselves. We're not an alligator trying to just get the next fish. We're human beings. We can relate to something that's not us. That's a superpower.
I just wish he could just go ahead and just stick to acting only. Okay, he's saying that empathy is not a trap. Empathy is a superpower. Okay, well, how about you express that superpower then? With your millions and stuff, Mr. Riley, and that compassion is what makes human beings exceptional, as he claims. So he says it's a lovely line for a press tour, but it lands a punch on a caricature while completely sidestepping the actual point that Elon Musk made about how empathy gets exploited by bad faith actors. So if you're getting something out of this breakdown and stuff, just go ahead and tap the subscribe button so these don't slip past your feed, because Riley is just the newest celebrity to learn that scolding your own audience tends to age very badly. But Elon Musk and the president are running a coordinated two-front campaign where the president is fighting and stuff for the message war, while Elon Musk is bankrolling the ground war in the exact races that will decide the House and the Senate. So Trump is setting the narrative basically, and Elon Musk writes the checks that turn that narrative into a real turnout in the ballot box. So the woke left idiots spend the better part of a year calling both men washed up, and now Elon Musk is the third largest donor of the entire cycle. So that combination of the president's megaphone and Elon Musk's war chest is precisely what keeps Newsom, Connor, and the rest of them awake at night. Okay, so basically, the harder the woke left swings at Elon Musk, the bigger they make him. Every meltdown from Newsom, Connor, and even Riley hands Elon Musk the exact fight that he's been asking for. Trump keeps the communist label glued to every socialist policy rolling out of New York and Sacramento, and Elon Musk keeps writing the checks underneath it. Whether this team up reshapes the midterms or blows up in spectacular fashion, Elon Musk has already turned it into the most entertaining political story of the year. So drop your take in the comments. Tell me whether Elon Musk and the president are about to run the table or massively overplay their hand, and I will see you all in the next one. Until then, peace.